Hello everyone, welcome back to Player One Start. Today's kind of an informal video as I'm going to be talking about some of the new Nintendo updates that's come out over the last couple weeks. We've seen a new Switch revision come out called the Nintendo Switch OLED model, and we've also seen some updates that they plan to make to the Nintendo Switch Online service. And I've been told to go ahead and get my thoughts out there, and hopefully in a more condensed format than I do on my live streams that I usually do here on the channel. And I decided to go ahead and just talk about it because there's a lot of stuff that came out this week that Nintendo has announced, and it's been a bit controversial. First off, we'll talk about that OLED Switch model, and will I be getting one? And the answer for me is definitely a no. I will not be picking up the Nintendo Switch OLED model for a couple of reasons. First off, the Nintendo Switch is about 4.5 years into its life cycle at the moment, and I don't really know how much longer they're going to go with the Switch. I know at the beginning they talked about a 10-year life cycle for the Switch system, but they also said this would be a Switch family of systems. And let's talk about how I normally use my Nintendo Switch. My Switch is usually kept in docked mode. I'm usually playing my Switch on a TV screen and not in handheld mode. So I'm not really encouraged to go out and buy a new Nintendo Switch, specifically with a screen upgrade, because, I mean, at the end of the day, that's really what it is. I have the original launch model of the Switch that came out in 2017, and it runs just great. I know the battery life on it is not as good as the new one. I think they did some revision with that a little while back, but to tell you the truth, if I'm playing it docked, it doesn't really matter to me. And I think if someone was going to play the Switch more portably, I think the Lite model would probably be a good way to go, because if you don't care about it being on the TV, that's only $199 as of the making of this video. And right now, the regular Switch is $299, and the OLED Switch is $350. So if I was going to buy a Switch now, if I didn't already have one, I might go for the OLED model, but I might just save the $50 because the OLED screen doesn't really matter to me. But if you go back to something like the PlayStation Vita, which I also have in my collection, and I actually played very recently, I ended up playing the PlayStation Vita a lot during the stay-at-home orders and lockdowns that happened last year in 2020, and I got very reacquainted with the system, but I also ended up paying my PSP, and while the PSP looks a bit more dated now, the PlayStation Vita still looks awesome, in part because of the OLED screen. So I don't think I'm going to buy an OLED model Switch right now. Maybe as these things are on their way out and the generation ends, I can get one, but since I don't play my Switch handheld as much, I don't really see myself wanting to go out and pay another $350 for one, just so I can have a better screen that just sits in the dock. Now, I do know that some people have pointed out that even if I played on the dock, it may be worth getting that new dock upgrade that they have because it has the Ethernet built in. And I've seen other people on there do their own tests to see if the hardwire actually provides better performance on the Switch. And from what I've seen out there, it doesn't really improve the speed of the Wi-Fi, at least on their speed tests when they run it the app that's built into the Switch. So I'm not really too concerned about getting the new dock because I don't think it's going to lead to increased performance. And speaking of Nintendo Switch Online, that's the second part of the news that I'm going to talk about. And we're going to talk about this update that they're making to Nintendo Switch Online. Now, to tell you the truth, I'm a bit of a noob when it comes to this because even though I'm into this and I'm into these systems, I don't really know a lot about how Nintendo Switch Online works. But from what I understand, on the Sony PlayStation and on Microsoft Xbox, they are actually hosting some servers for you to play games back and forth with. And from what I've heard from other YouTubers and other people who are out there talking about this, is that most of Nintendo Switch, if not all of their stuff, is run through peer-to-peer networking. And that makes a lot of sense to me. Peer-to-peer would basically mean that both of the systems are communicating directly with each other with no server in between really interacting with them other than their internet service providers. So the same thing can be done peer-to-peer would be like the old LAN parties we used to attend back in the early 2000s. If you hooked up a whole bunch of Xboxes together through a hardwire and a router, that would be peer-to-peer because you don't have to go through Xbox Live to play these games. In fact, I do plan to do a video sometime in the future where I network together a bunch of PlayStation 2s, and then I network together a bunch of PlayStation 3s and play games that are offline, but we can still do LAN parties with them because they still support offline LAN play, if that makes sense. But anyway, diving into the new features that the Nintendo Switch Online is going to offer, are they something that appeals to me? Yes, definitely. The Nintendo 64 library that they're offering has the games I think that everyone wants to see on there. Super Mario 64 is definitely one of those. I played this game first on the Nintendo Wii Virtual Console because I didn't own an N64 growing up. My nephew and I replayed it again on the Nintendo DS. I'm not sure I'm quite ready to play it again. I even bought that cartridge that they came out with, the 3D All-Stars collection, that was only available for a limited time. So am I ready to pay for it again? Absolutely not. Mario Kart 64 is a great one to have on there, and the fact that they have online play integrated into that now would be a special treat to me. But to tell you the truth, I think that Mario Kart 64, even though it's very well regarded and very nostalgic, I don't think it lives up to Mario Kart 8 online or Mario Kart 8 in general. I think Mario Kart 8 is the best one they've done so far, and I really enjoy playing that. And some of the tracks that are available in Mario Kart 64 are already in Mario Kart 8, and they're upscaled and work better. So until I actually see what it looks like, I'm not quite too sure that's going to be too appealing to me, considering I already own it for the Nintendo Wii, and I already own it for the Nintendo 64, and I've played it a bunch of times on that. Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, a lot of people find this strange, especially knowing how big I am into video games, that I haven't played through and beaten that game. I've played it a little bit, but because I didn't own an N64, I didn't really beat it. So I've, again, bought that again for the 3DS, and I've played through it some more. Not really quite sure I want to pay a subscription fee to access that. Mario Tennis is another one where I'm like, yeah, you can already play Mario Tennis Aces, which supposedly a lot of people like. I personally didn't. So in terms of the Nintendo 64 library, I'd have to see more games get added before I think that it's worth it to me. But then there was the announcement of the Sega Genesis library. Paying online for a lot of these games, I'm looking at the list here, and I own all of these games already for the Sega Genesis. And if you bought the Sega Genesis Classic Edition, you're going to have most, if not all, of these games already, and you don't have to pay a subscription fee to keep getting access to them. Are you going to pay to play these games online with somebody else? I really don't think so. I think that it's nice that they're adding them. It kind of reminds me of the Nintendo Wii when they had the Virtual Console. But again, the Sega Genesis library is available in so many different forms. I've repurchased it so many different times. If you guys see my how many times did I purchase Sonic the Hedgehog video, I mean, it's insane how many times that we've been forced to rebuy this, and I think this is just the straw that broke the camel's back for me that I don't really want to rebuy this. And I think a lot of other people may be in the same boat because Sega has been riding out that train of nostalgia on their older 16-bit titles for way too long, and I really feel like it's going to hurt them if they just keep rehashing out the past instead of investing in modern remakes like Sonic Mania. That'd be a good one to add to this service, actually. But then we got to come down to it. An extra $30 to access the Sega Genesis and the N64 titles, and I think some DLC for Animal Crossing, which I did get into Animal Crossing, but the DLC doesn't really interest me. Once I was done with Animal Crossing, I don't really feel like going back to it. I definitely don't think it is worth it. Nintendo was way off base with this because they only charged basically $20 for you to access all of these Nintendo and Super Nintendo titles. And the $30 price point, which I know some people mentioned is over 100% for not as many games, even though it's adding these two platforms, just does not... It's crazy to me that Nintendo would charge this amount for it. And I don't really feel like I'm alone on this opinion because a lot of people have been voicing their discontent online as well. So, I don't know. What do you guys think about these two different systems? Am I way off base here? Do you guys agree, disagree? Let me know down in the comments below. And if you plan on getting this service when it launches, or if you guys have gotten a Nintendo Switch OLED, let me know in the comments below as well. If you guys enjoyed this video, please remember to give it a thumbs up. If you guys like to see some of the other content I do on this channel, I do game reviews, console wars, live streams, all that other stuff. Definitely appreciate a view on that. As always, I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now. If you like this video and you'd like to help out with future projects on this channel, please consider supporting me on Patreon.